Elijah is known as the prophet who never died for a very specific and unique reason in the biblical narrative. The Bible recounts that he was taken to heaven without experiencing physical death. The key passage of this is found in 2 Kings 2:11. As they continued on their way and talked, behold, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. This event is unique in the scriptures. Most human beings die and are buried, but Elijah, like Enoch, Genesis 5:4, was transported directly into God's presence. Because of this dramatic account of his ascension in a chariot of fire and a whirlwind, he is remembered as the prophet who did not see death. This characteristic makes him a figure of great fascination and importance, especially in the Jewish and Christian traditions, whereas not experiencing death is linked to messianic and prophetic expectations about his return at the end of times. Get ready to unravel one of the greatest enigmas in sacred history, a figure so enigmatic that he defies death itself. He is the prophet who never died. Yes, you heard that right. In a world where everything has an end, he defied the laws of nature and became a living legend, or rather, a legend who ascended to the heavens. Prepare to meet Elijah, the prophet who shocked the world. Such an extraordinary figure that his story reverberates through millennia, leaving a trail of fire and mystery. Could it be just a legend, or the truth behind the most electrifying narrative of the past? Today, we will unravel Elijah, the most impactful story in the Bible. From the whisper of an announced drought to the spectacle of celestial flames, his journey culminated in something unimaginable. Elijah, the prophet taken to heaven in a chariot of fire. But who is this man, Elijah the Tishbite? And why did God, the creator of the universe, most likely choose him for such a grand mission in such a turbulent period? Imagine Israel centuries ago, a nation on the brink of spiritual abyss. Under the reign of King Ahab and his infamous wife, Jezebel, the worship of the one God, Yahweh, was being replaced by idolatrous cults of the pagan god Baal. True faith was fading. It is in the scenario of darkness that Elijah emerges. God did not choose a political leader, a powerful king. He chose a man from the countryside, perhaps rough in his manners, but with a heart aflame for the Lord. Why? Because God needed someone fearless, zealous, uncompromising with error, whose faith was an unshakable rock against the tide of apostasy. Elijah was a fire God needed to combat the spiritual coldness that had spread through Israel. He was the voice crying out in the wilderness, the warrior who would not back down. And Elijah wasted no time. His first appearance is a shock. He stands before King Ahab and, with God's authority, proclaims, "In the coming years, there will be no dew or rain, except by my word." Think of the audacity. With a single word, he sealed the heavens, and the most devastating drought Israel had ever seen began. A demonstration of power that left everyone speechless. Have you ever stopped to think if you would have Elijah's courage? To speak the truth, even if it brings difficult consequences for everyone, including yourself? Where do you need more daring in your life today? In the midst of scarcity, God provides. Elijah is miraculously fed by ravens and then sent to a poor widow in Zarephath, a widow who had only a handful of flour and a little oil for a last meal. The miracle happens. The flour and oil never run out. But what happens next is even more surprising. The widow's son dies. Elijah cries out to God, and life, incredibly, returns to the child's body, a tender demonstration of God's power over death. Do you believe in miraculous provision, even when there seems to be no way out? Elijah teaches us that faith can sustain us even in scarcity. How many times have you underestimated the power of a little faith? But nothing, absolutely nothing, compares to the climax that would immortalize him. The confrontation on Mount Carmel. On one side, 450 prophets of Baal and 400 of Asherah. On the other, just Elijah alone. The question echoed in the air, who is the true God? They cried out to Baal for hours, but nothing. Deep silence. Then Elijah acts. He mocks them, builds an altar, drenches it with 12 jars of water. And then he prays. A simple but powerful prayer. And what happens? A bolt of pure fire comes down from heaven, consuming not only the sacrifice and the wood, but also the stones and the earth around, and even the water in the trenches. It was a spectacle of divine power that left no doubt. An entire nation prostrated itself, crying out, "The Lord alone is God!" A display of divine power that restored the faith of thousands in a single day. How many modern Baals compete for your attention and devotion today? Money? Fame? Power? Comfort? Elijah challenges us to ask, what truly holds power in your life? Would you be willing to stand alone to defend the truth you believe in? What prevents you from doing that? But Elijah was not untouchable. After the overwhelming victory, Queen Jezebel swore to kill him, and he fled. Tired, disheartened, he asked God to die. It is in this moment of deep vulnerability that God finds him on Mount Horeb, not in a hurricane, but in a gentle whisper, a powerful lesson. Even the greatest heroes feel fear and discouragement, but God never abandons his servants. How many times, after great achievements, have you found yourself exhausted and discouraged? Elijah shows us that it is human to feel fear and want to give up. Can you recognize the voice of hope in the gentle whispers of your life? Not just in big events? And the demonstrations of his power of fire did not stop at Carmel. When King Ahaziah, Ahab's son, sent captains with 50 soldiers to arrest Elijah, the prophet, sitting on top of a hill, did not move. With chilling divine authority, he simply declared, "If I am a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50. And, to the soldiers' horror, fire came down from heaven and consumed them. The same happened to the second group. Elijah did not need armies. His word, spoken in God's name, was his most potent arsenal. He was a guardian of divine fire. What does it mean to have unquestionable authority in your life? Not power over others, but integrity and purpose. Elijah reminds us that true strength is not in numbers, but in conviction and connection with the divine. What do you defend with that conviction today? Elijah's deeds went beyond visible miracles. He was an instrument of God to redefine the destiny of entire nations. His work included the designation of leaders. Even if indirectly through a successor, Elijah transferred this responsibility to Elisha. He was a pillar in the political and spiritual structure of his time, influencing the rise and fall of kingdoms. He did so through the transfer of prophetic authority to Elisha, his apprentice. Are you willing to transfer your knowledge and passion to the next generation, or do you seek to keep everything to yourself? Elijah teaches us that true leadership is not just about what you do, but about who you train. Who are you inspiring and preparing? And then, the culmination of the journey, the chapter that would seal Elijah for eternity as the prophet taken to heaven in a chariot of fire. The biblical narrative takes us to a final and mysterious journey. Elijah and Elisha walked to the Jordan. Elisha refused to leave his master. Elijah takes his cloak, folds it, and strikes the waters of the Jordan. And, to Elisha's astonishment, the river parts. They cross on dry ground. And it was there on the other side of the Jordan, as they walked and talked, that the unimaginable happened. The sky opened. A chariot of fire with horses of fire appeared out of nowhere. A powerful whirlwind swallowed Elijah, separating him from Elisha. Elisha, in tears, cried out, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel." He saw his master snatched away, not to death, but to eternity, in an event so unique that it defies our comprehension. Elijah, the man who called fire from heaven, who parted waters, who raised the dead, did not taste a grave. He was taken, in flames, into the presence of the eternal. If your life's purpose were so grand, would you be ready to depart in such a spectacular way, without fear of the unknown? What legacy are you building that could lead you to a heaven in flames, a fulfilled purpose? Elijah's life was a symphony of miracles and confrontations, a vibrant testimony to divine intervention in a world turning away from its creator. He was not just a prophet. He was a force of nature, a man with a burning purpose, chosen by God to ignite the faith of a nation. Why did God choose him, and why was he so important to God? Because Elijah embodied the unwavering zeal and pure loyalty that God demanded in times of apostasy. He had the fearless courage to confront corrupt power. His humility and total dependence on God allowed divine power to flow through him. Elijah was crucial to restore the glory of God's name on Carmel, reaffirm the divine covenant with Israel, and preserve the faithful remnant. He also ensured the continuity of the prophetic voice through Elisha and became a prophetic sign for the future, a forerunner of the Messiah, like John the Baptist in the spirit and power of Elijah, and a testimony to the glory of Christ. He is a fundamental piece in the puzzle of God's plan for humanity's redemption. Elijah was not a coincidence. He was a providential choice of God who, even amidst rebellion, never abandoned his people. Do you see yourself as part of a larger plan? Where is your unwavering zeal? What truths do you defend, even if it costs you? Elijah shows us that being important to God means living with a purpose that transcends the self. Now, the question that resonates, why is Elijah's story so vital to each of us, to humanity as a whole? Why should we know it? Elijah's saga transcends the barriers of time and religion, for it echoes universal truths about the human condition. It teaches us about the moral courage to confront injustice, as in the case of Naboth's vineyard, where Elijah challenged royalty for an act of pure greed. When you witness an injustice, what stops you from acting? Elijah shouts at us that to remain silent is to be complicit, which Naboth in your community or circle needs your voice today. It offers us a message of hope and resilience in despair, showing that even the strongest fall, but can rise again. Do you allow yourself to be vulnerable and seek help when you are at your limit? Elijah's story proves that despair is not the end, but can be a new beginning. Where do you need more resilience to not give up? Elijah's story is a powerful cry about the impact a single individual can have against entire systems, inspiring us not to underestimate the power of our convictions. Do you feel small in the face of the world's challenges? Elijah, a single man, changed a nation. What can you start doing today, even if it seems insignificant, to bring about a great change? Do not underestimate the power of a single action motivated by faith and purpose. In a world where truth is often confused with falsehood, the confrontation at Carmel reminds us of the importance of seeking truth with fervor. In an ocean of information and misinformation, how do you distinguish truth? Elijah challenges us not to accept what is imposed, but to seek proof. Are you willing to test your own beliefs and prejudices? Elijah also touches on a universal human quest for meaning and transcendence, acting as a channel for an invisible, higher power. What is your greater purpose? What drives you beyond daily life? Elijah invites us to connect with something beyond ourselves, to find the deepest meaning of our existence. Where do you seek your meaning? And finally, being a pillar in three of the world's largest religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, knowing his story is fundamental for interreligious dialogue and cultural understanding. Are you open to understanding the narratives that shape other cultures and beliefs? Elijah is a bridge. What bridges can you build in your life for greater understanding and respect? Elijah's life is not a relic of the past. It is an instruction manual for the present. What miracle do you need to witness or perform in your own life? What drought needs your prayer and perseverance? Elijah was a rebel against the spiritual status quo. What do you need to rebel against in your life to live a more authentic and aligned life with your values? Are you living a life of gentle whispers with your soul, or are you always looking for loud noises to feel alive? Elijah reminds us that God, in inner peace, also dwells in stillness. What cloak are you ready to cast upon someone else, empowering them for their own journey? And what cloak do you need to receive to advance in yours? Elijah invites us to have such an intimate relationship with the divine that even the elements bow to our faith. What power are you underestimating in your own spiritual connection? If your life were a book, would the ending be a whirlwind of purpose and ascension or a blank page? Elijah challenges us to live with an intensity that prepares the ground for a glorious ending. Elijah's fire consumed not only offerings, but also indifference and idolatry. What fire do you need to light within yourself to burn away everything that prevents you from living fully? Do you have the courage to ask God for the fire in your life, even if it means confronting your own comfort zones and those of others? The narrative of Elijah, the prophet of fire who never died and who was taken to heaven in a flaming chariot, is much more than a biblical tale. It is an archetype. It is a vivid reminder of our capacity for courage, resilience, the pursuit of truth and faith. It is an inspiration for us in our own challenges to seek the inner fire, the spark of courage that drives us to fight for what is right. For these reasons and many others, Elijah's story is not just to be told. It is to be known, internalized, and lived. Because by understanding the journey of this extraordinary man, we are reminded of the power that exists when faith, courage, and justice meet. What impacts you most about Elijah's life? Leave your comment, share this powerful message, and subscribe to our channel to continue exploring the stories that shape humanity